What's going on, everybody? This is Nihilael, and today we're going to talk about Overwatch. More importantly, is Overwatch too successful? Now you may be saying, what? How can a game be too successful? And the answer is simple. Unfortunately, the gaming industry is a lot like Hollywood. When someone finds a formula that works, everybody starts using it, regardless of whether or not it has worked in the past or it will work for them. So in a sense, yes, a game can be too successful. What we're going to look at today is the possibility that Overwatch is successful enough to turn the FPS genre into a bunch of second-rate Overwatch clones. No, that doesn't happen. Doesn't it though? I can remember a time it happened within this very genre. When I was growing up, every single FPS was an arena skill shooter. Quake had sort of set the standard for what a shooter should be. You know, this high emphasis on movement and outplaying your opponent, not just point and click. Most of you are probably old enough to remember these types of games. They were everywhere on both PC and console. On PC, you had games like Quake, Unreal Tournament, Alien vs. Predator, Half-Life Deathmatch, and who could forget the console classics like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, and Halo. Each of these franchises was vastly different, but they all followed the same formula. And sure, there were plenty of games that varied from this and tried things outside the scope of arena skill shooters, but they were mostly from smaller developers and didn't spawn these huge, successful franchises. This continues up until the release of Battlefield 1942, a game that is hugely successful. It had this tone of realism, this emphasis on huge player versus player battles, vehicles, and most importantly, the class or kit system. And it's not the first game to do a lot of what it did, but it really brought these mechanics to the forefront. It was the first game that used this kit-based system to pull in those kind of sales numbers. It also seemed very new and exciting at the time. The concept of not having to go and pick up your weapon was so alien to me as a player when Battlefield hit the scene. But then this system started to show up everywhere. There's variations on it, of course, most notably the idea of a loadout, where your selection isn't as bound as it is within a class kit, but it's still the idea of going into battle with pre-selected gear. Fast forward to now, this is all but the only system you're gonna find in the genre. Call of Duty, Halo 5, Ghost Recon, obviously Battlefield. They're all using these similar systems, and in the case of a game like Halo 5, you can also see there are heavy influences from Call of Duty, which again plays into the same point. Call of Duty is a franchise that is notorious for poor reception, both critically and privately. The annual release scheme is giving us what is essentially a modded version of the same game once a year, yet every one sells more than enough copies to be a huge financial success, which is why they keep doing it, and which is why you see other games start to do it. So what does all this have to do with Overwatch? Well, Overwatch isn't just a good game. Overwatch is a great game. I think it far exceeded expectations. I certainly love it. And while the hype train has died down a little bit, almost everyone I know, both gamer and casual player, has purchased and at least played the game for the first few weeks. It's a lot of fun, and it's a sort of fresh take on the genre. Why is that? Well, it's a hero shooter. And you could say, that's not a fresh take, it's a lot like Team Fortress 2. And it is. But Team Fortress 2 is like the halfway point between a kit or loadout system and what we've got in Overwatch, where characters not only have different weapons and different stats, but these powerful abilities as well. Overwatch plays almost like the love child of an FPS and a MOBA. With this level of popularity and this seemingly new style brought to the forefront, it's no surprise that other developers will want to mimic this success. And at least for me, the most notable of these is Quake Champions. Quake Champions describes itself as a fast-paced arena-based shooter, but make no mistake, from what we've seen, it's a hero shooter. Different characters with different skills and abilities, each one unique in style, all fighting each other in a big arena. Starting to sound familiar, isn't it? And why is this a big deal? Because it's Quake. That's like Clint Eastwood stepping in front of the camera to be in a Love Actually clone. So now the question becomes, why is this a bad thing? Overwatch is a great game. Shouldn't games be more like Overwatch? And they should, in the sense that they should be fine-tuned and original. While it seems fresh, Overwatch isn't the first hero shooter. Like Battlefield, it's just the first one with this level of success. And one of the big reasons for that is it's the first one to do it this well. So let's look at why hero shooters haven't taken off in the past. Some of them have been moderately successful. Take a look at 2005's Unreal Championship 2, a well-received game that most people have never heard of, and I had to look up the name of despite having played lots of it. It was an Xbox exclusive. It wasn't as elaborate as Overwatch, but it had individual characters with different weapons and abilities, and it was fun. It got positive reviews, it sold pretty well, so why did everyone forget about it? Personally, I believe that comes down to the fact that it didn't have a big competitive scene. In fact, that's where most of the hero shooters we've had in the past have seemed to fall flat. They don't really transition that well into competitive play. And the FPS genre has always been tied very closely with esports. On PC and console, there's always been a lot of support and tournaments for shooters. Even if we go back to the very beginning, there were professional Quake 1 players. And you can't really blame Unreal Championship's lack of competitive scene on being an Xbox exclusive either. Even the original Halo, which lacked internet play, had its fair share of tournaments. It's the fact that hero shooters themselves often come down to hero composition and balance as much as execution. Take a look at Overwatch. Much like your favorite MOBAs, there's a metagame with specific hero comps and synergy play. It's not as simple as the most mechanically skilled player wins, and that separates it from the tradition of competitive FPS. So now the argument becomes, Overwatch shows this can work, and if the MOBA comparison keeps coming up, hero shooters can potentially thrive since it's taking after a genre with the largest competitive scene in esports. But this might not be the case. Overwatch certainly has a budding competitive scene, but it hasn't taken off yet. The competitive scene isn't organic either. Blizzard has an esports division that has sunk a lot of effort and cash into trying to get it started. No doubt, there was always going to be a competitive scene in Overwatch. The game is too big for there not to be, and yet it isn't an esports juggernaut. Not yet. There's also more attention and money in esports than there's ever been before. Being a pro gamer is more realistic a dream than it's ever been in the past, and the pay is certainly a lot better. Part of me questions if Overwatch's competitive scene would be as big as it is, or will be, without the current success of esports. More importantly, if it's not Overwatch, if it's any other hero shooter, say Quake Champions, is anyone gonna care? Without that huge level of success, without Blizzard's enormous esports budget, can a hero shooter thrive in a competitive atmosphere? Time will tell, but I'm not convinced. And as for the comparison to MOBAs, let's take a look at Battleborn, a game that is much more MOBA than Overwatch is. It flopped. Now, a lot of people will say it flopped simply because of Overwatch, and I'm sure that contributed to it. Blizzard's marketing and release date were fairly aggressive, but even without Overwatch, Battleborn is a mediocre game at best, and that proves to me that the similarity to MOBAs isn't a surefire way for your game to succeed. So Overwatch is certainly a successful game. It's certainly a good game. I don't know anyone so cynical that they haven't enjoyed it, but we've yet to see Overwatch's effect on the genre. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Overwatch clones will be successful. Maybe there won't be any Overwatch clones at all. And the Battlefield and Call of Duty style games probably aren't going anywhere. At least not anytime soon. People keep buying them. And there's a few skill shooters left. Counter-Strike is thriving and can be considered a skill shooter. The only thing we really lack is an arena-styled skill shooter. The only one that I can think of that's even in development is Diabotical, and while it's got a community behind it, it's far from a AAA title. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. I've got a few more ideas for similar article-style videos in the future, and sometime soon I'd like to start getting some written articles up, mostly op-eds about the industry and gaming. But if you did like this video, go ahead and hit that like button for me, and don't forget to subscribe for plenty more gaming content. And of course, I'll see all of you in the next one.